NWR Communications would like to thank Earth's Energy and MD Matt Kay for joining us today. Earth's Energy is a recently relisted ASX pure geothermal play with the ticker EE1, focused on unlocking Australia's huge geothermal potential through modern advanced geothermal technologies. Earth's Energy has assembled a very high caliber team of energy sector professionals led by Matt. Matt himself has over 30 years experience in the energy industry and most recently was MD of Beach Energy, growing that company to over a $4 billion market cap in 6 years. And EE1 is his next venture, which has got him super excited. So thanks, Matt, for joining us today. Perhaps, overview, tell us a little bit about Earth's Energy and what has got you so enthusiastic about geothermal.
Thanks, Aidan. Appreciate your time. Look, we are excited about bringing geothermal energy to Australia. We've been working on this venture for about the last 2 years. And we think that Australia at the moment is behind in its target for net zero. And we think the missing piece of the puzzle is geothermal. Geothermal is already being used in around 30 countries around the world. It is truly renewable 24/7. And in our case, it will have zero emissions in the way that we plan to potentially develop it. So that's incredibly exciting. It has a lot of possibilities to support the mining sector, to support governments, to support industry. So we think we have a great solution here for what is a clear need for the country. I'll let you read that disclaimer at your leisure. And I might just touch on a few things around geothermal. As I said, it is 24/7 renewable. It has a lot of advantages compared to other renewable sources. It doesn't require the sun. It doesn't require wind. Takes a small land footprint. And what we know is the source is abundant. There is heat, a lot of heat throughout the globe. And what's changed is historically, the focus of geothermal has been on high levels of heat that focus on the ring of fire. But technology's changed. We'll talk about it in a minute. And what that means is the industry is heading towards what's called geothermal anywhere. And we include Australia in that. And you can see just from some of those quotes here from the likes of Wood Mackenzie and the International Renewable Energy Agency, the potential globally for geothermal is incredible. It really is. And we're part of it. We think we've positioned ourselves really well for the change that's happening, what we're calling the geothermal renaissance. We've assembled a team, as you've said, that is a high caliber team, has the right capability sets, proven successful individuals, and we're really excited together as a team to take this forward. In terms of those advantages of geothermal, if you look in the US, for example, the capacity factor of geothermal is far greater than other renewable sources. The levelized cost of dispatchable power in the US from geothermal is the lowest compared to others. And from our perspective, that means we know if we can deal with the heat in Australia, we will be able to position ourselves around the market, around the infrastructure. We can take modular approaches or large-scale approaches. We think we've got a highly flexible solution here. If you think about growth for geothermal historically, it has been relatively muted in recent years. And again, partly that is because it has focused around the ring of fire. And that is really the key change that we need to focus on today. And this is it. So what you're seeing now is advanced geothermal systems. The advanced geothermal systems have been proven. They're now being scaled. And what they're basically doing is in a closed loop system, you can actually just run fluids through pipe. You don't have to run through the rock, which means you actually don't need permeability. You can come through heat exchangers back into your plant, and that means you can deal with much lower levels of heat. So you don't need to be looking for 300 degrees Celsius. You can be around that 150, 180 degrees Celsius range. And that will allow us to still be able to develop energy at that level. And that is the total game changer that's happened over the last decade. And when you look at who's backing this, it's the who's who. So who's pushing these solutions? BP, Chevron, Inpex, Shell, Baker Hughes, I could go on. It's the who's who of energy, because they know that this is a green energy anywhere solution. And that chart there on the right shows you how much money has been pushed into these solutions in the last couple of years, more than 600 million US. And that's because it's a solution that has a lot of commercial value. It really does. And it will have a lot of support from government and a lot of support from industry, all of who are trying to hit net zero. And this is a pathway. In terms of the potential, I think if you look at, again, the chart on the right, what you're seeing here from Wood Mackenzie is the potential for the geothermal industry to get to 1,000 gigawatts by 2050. And that's off a very, very low base now. And I've got a lot of respect, I've got to say, for Wood Mackenzie as a research house. And it just shows globally what the potential is. And we agree with the independent researchers. That's why we've been down this pathway for the last 2 years, because we can see this pathway for Australia. So why hasn't it worked in Australia in the past? Well, historically, Australia just hasn't needed geothermal. We've had abundant fossil fuels, and historically, coal and gas were very cheap. Maybe not so much in recent years, but historically they were. And I think we also forget that it's really the only last 5 years that we've been down a pathway to net zero. So what that has meant, we had one attempt circa 10, 15 years ago at geothermal in Australia. It was very different to what we're trying to do. With the technology available at the time, they were targeting deep hot rocks, 4,000 or 5,000 metre depth. So they were targeting high temperatures in the middle of the Cooper Basin. Very different for us with new technology. We're targeting near infrastructure, near markets. And that's the great advantage that we now have. And the other advantage we have is we've got the government backing. You know, we've got a government target. We've got each of the states pushing towards that target. We've got, I think, a knowledge building that we're off target at the moment. And one of the solutions is geothermal. So I think we'll get a lot of assistance federally and from the states to push this forward. As I said, we've been at this for more than 2 years. That means we had a great screen of all of the geothermal opportunities across Australia, which sort of means we cherry-picked what we thought were the best places to be. And if you look at South Australia, for example, we've got a significant acreage holding there, over 12,000 square kilometres, running from Port Augusta all the way up to Roxby. Why did we do that? Because you can see we track infrastructure, and you can also see we're in the heartland of the mining sector in South Australia as well. And that sector is trying to get down to net zero themselves, and it's very challenging. So we see a solution here that we can provide to industry and a solution to government. And if you look at our independent technical experts report that was conducted, there is potential, and I would ask you to read all the disclaimers around this. There is potential for some very large volumes in South Australia, between 9,700 megawatts equivalent through to 54,000 megawatts equivalent. Again, read all the footnotes and disclaimers, but we're excited by that. We're excited by the potential scale, as is government, as is industry. In Queensland, there's our other focus area. We've already secured one block there. We've got applications in for another 3. Again, that's a very significant acreage holding, running from west of Brisbane all the way up to Roma and down to the Gold Coast as well. To give you a sense, if you drove end to end on that acreage, you'll be driving for 7 hours. So it's a substantial holding, but you will note again, focused on infrastructure, focused on market. This is about commercialisation. It's not a science experiment. This is about a commercial outcome for the company. And I've got to say, we've been busy and we're going to be very, very busy over the course of 2024. We've already set up our team. We've done our independent experts report. We've got the key acreage that we wanted. We've been assessing for the last 2 years all of the global technologies. Expect that in the not too distant future, we'll announce an alignment with an international technology provider. We'll be very excited to be able to announce that shortly. And then we'll work through all of the issues we need to work through on our geological studies, heat assessments, market assessments, so that we can be ready to start drilling and start pushing this forward in earnest over the next 12 to 24 months. So this is a big year for us. We'll be looking at government support. I'd also highlight that we have 100% of the acreage. That gives us some flexibility. So there's a good chance you'll see us think about farming that down. We won't be in any rush to do that. We'll be looking for the right type of partners, the right type of alignment, but that's something that we have as an option here as well. So we're excited about all the opportunities that we have. We're excited by this opportunity. As I said, we've been an early mover. We think we've positioned ourselves really well. We're close to infrastructure. We've got the team. And we think we're right in a sweet spot of this renaissance for geothermal globally.
Thank you, Matt. That was a great run through. Obviously, sounds like a big 2024 ahead. It's going to be a busy and exciting year. Geothermal currently is a provider of renewable energy, but perhaps been surpassed by solar and wind, etc. Maybe touch on just geothermal's potential size globally and here in Australia. Just how big an opportunity can it actually be?
Yeah, I think I'd probably point you back, Aidan, to that Wood Mackenzie number. That is an enormous scale increase predicted by Wood Mackenzie for the industry globally. But there's good reason for that. Heat is everywhere in the globe, right? So this is not like an oil and gas play where you're trying to drill for oil or gas in a reservoir, hoping that you've got seal closure, hoping that the resource is there, and you're going in with a 1 in 5 or unfortunately sometimes a 1 in 10 chance of success. We know the heat's there. The question for us is going to be, how deep do we need to go to get the heat we want? What locations? And as I said earlier, with the technology that we'll be applying, we don't need to have fluid running through the rocks. So we can deal with geological settings that are in Australia.
Thanks, Matt. As you mentioned in the presentation, there has been attempts at geothermal here in Australia in the somewhat distant past. For observers of geothermal now going forward, can you sort of spell out what the key attributes of a successful modern geothermal project will actually look like?
Yeah, sure. I think maybe just pointing towards the legacy in Australia, and I know the individuals involved and have a lot of respect for them. They were using the knowledge they had at the time, the technology they had at the time, which meant they needed to target high heat, which meant they needed to be in the Cooper Basin, targeting very deep hot rocks. The world's changed for geothermal. The technology's changed. So what that really means now rolling forward is we can target much lower levels of heat. We can utilize the global technologies that we've seen proven out in terms of closed loop systems. And that's the key game changer, that the heat is there. We know that. So it's just going to be a matter of, do we need to go to 2,000 meters? Do we need to go to 3,000 meters? And basically that's why we're working with the right international technology partners, which we'll announce soon, to be able to support us in that assessment and support us in the delivery.
You mentioned there the next gen tech. These technological advancements in recent years seem really the key to now unlocking this vast energy potential of geothermal. How are you at Earths Energy, going to position yourself at the forefront of this technology going forward?
Yeah, really good question, Aidan. So as I said, we've been at this for 2 years now. What that means is we've spoken to all the technology providers. We've spoken to the geothermal experts around the globe. We've taken that knowledge and gone well down the path of discussions with one of the key technology providers. We're a long, long way down the path. And as I said, in the not too distant future, we expect to make an announcement on an alignment agreement with one of those players. And that's really exciting for us because that gives us a totally different capability set, and that allows us to bring the latest knowledge and technology to Australia.
Matt, you obviously have a lot of experience in oil and gas and a great resume, especially there at Beach in terms of what you achieved. What attracted you personally to Earths Energy and geothermal, given the options you had, and what does your experience then in oil and gas actually bring to the table here?
Yeah, good question, Aidan. Look, for me, I've been really fortunate to have a strong career in oil and gas, having worked for Santos a long period with Woodside, then Oil Search, and then running Beach. So really pleased with all the experience that I've had. It's been very fortunate to soak in all that knowledge over those years and learn from a lot of great people around me. Having run Beach for 6 years, I got there at a fairly young age. For me, I really wanted to be able to create something here. So create something from a start, and really focused on green opportunities as well. Bit of change of direction relative to my history in oil and gas. But that said, all the knowledge that I've built up through the years on overseeing operating teams, overseeing development teams, still applies here, right? So this will still be about drilling. It'll still be about bringing things to market, working with governments, working with partners. So there's a lot of knowledge that I can apply, but more importantly is bringing a team together, right? I will never be the subsurface or geological expert and never will pretend to do that. That's why we brought in Dr. Trey Meckel to be with us, who's a global expert in subsurface and has been focused on geothermal for the last few years as well. So we're bringing the right people together, the right knowledge, the right skills to push this forward.
Matt, perhaps just to end, maybe sum up again, in a quick fashion for us, why Earths Energy will be a good geothermal play here in Australia, and the potential opportunity as you see it for investors to keep tabs on this stock going forward.
Sure. I mean, look, as I said, we've been at this for 2 years, which has allowed us, I think, to front run the opportunity set for geothermal in Australia. It's allowed us to pick up the acreage that we really wanted, having assessed most of the country. We're close to infrastructure. We know that there's challenges to hit net zero at the moment. So we know that we've got support from governments. We know that we've got support from industry. We're part of the solution. And frankly, there are not many 24/7 renewable energy solutions out there. So what we can see is support that will drive us forward. The technology that we'll bring to Australia is going to be an absolute key for the game changer here. And what you'll see is we're going to be sprinting, right? And we're here for commercial outcomes. We're definitely not here for science experiments. We're all about shareholder value and getting growth and returns for our shareholders. So we'll just keep knocking over each of those milestones, and our investors can track us, hold us to task. That's what we want, and watch us deliver.
Thank you, Matt. It definitely sounds like a very large, unique in an ASX context, and exciting opportunity for you as well. So, and also a lot of near-term news flow, which we like to hear. So look forward to following the story through 24 and getting more progress reports from you in the not too distant future. So thanks, Matt, for your time today.
Thanks, Aidan. Appreciate talking to you.